On the 9th of April 1940, the Germans invaded Norway. The second destroyer flotilla of the Royal Navy, commanded by Bernard Warburton-Lee, attempted to take the fight to the German Navy, or the Kriegsmarine. For his actions on this day, Warburton-Lee would be awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest award for bravery in face of the enemy Britain can bestow upon members of its armed forces. And today, I shall be telling his incredible story. Born near Wrexham in Wales on the 13th of September 1895, Warburton-Lee joined the Royal Navy pre-World War I. He joined HMS Hyacinth as a midshipman in 1913, and when war broke out in 1914, he still served on the Hyacinth, serving on her until July 1915. Notably, while serving on the Hyacinth, the ship served near East Africa, helping to blockade the Königsberg, the lead ship of her class of German cruisers. He served on various destroyers throughout the war, earning him several promotions, and during his service he was mentioned in dispatches for his services to the Grand Fleet of destroyers. Towards the end of the war, however, Warburton-Lee found himself in a spot of bother. A court of inquiry found him at fault for a collision between two vessels. He was reprimanded and cautioned to be more careful in the future. In the interwar years, Warburton-Lee remained in the Navy and spent his time on various commands, receiving a number of promotions, and in 1931 he attended the British Army Staff College at Camberley. Interestingly enough, one of his classmates was future Lieutenant General Brian Horrocks, who famously commanded British forces during the Second World War. For those of you that have watched my Operation Market Garden stuff, you may remember him as the commander of 30 Corps. In 1936, tensions in Europe were bubbling, thanks in no part to the rise of fascist regimes in Italy and Germany, and the ever-growing worry about communism. And in July of that year, the Spanish Civil War broke out. Concerned for the remaining British citizens in Spain, the Foreign Office organised a naval response and quickly deployed HMS Witch to Spain to repatriate British nationals and bring them back to Britain. HMS Witch successfully completed this task, commanded by Warburton-Lee. When the Second World War exploded into life in September 1939, Warburton-Lee was in command of destroyer HMS Hardy. She was 337 foot long and could reach speeds in excess of 30 knots, which is around 34 miles per hour. On the 8th of April 1940, the British began laying mines in the waters around Norway. Escorting the mine-laying ships was the second destroyer flotilla, commanded by Captain Bernard Warburton-Lee. On the morning of the 9th of April, the Germans began their invasion of Norway, both sides unknowingly occupying the same area of the sea, but due to bad weather, they failed to engage each other effectively. Reports of the invasion began to reach the Admiralty in London, who quickly ordered Warburton-Lee and his task force to Narvik, as reports had come through that the Germans had begun landing troops there. After gathering as much information as possible, Warburton-Lee reported to the Admiralty of his intentions to attack the German ships gathered there, despite being outnumbered. On the 10th of April, he told the Admiralty of his situation, and that with their permission he would attack at dawn. They replied the decision was his, and whatever he decided to do, they would back him. With heavy snowstorms covering their advance, the 5 ships of the second destroyer flotilla silently approached Narvik. Then, out of the snow and the dawn air, HMS Hardy, commanded by Warburton-Lee, entered the harbour. Gliding past moored and refuelling merchant ships, HMS Hardy quickly encountered 2 German destroyers. HMS Hardy raised the battle ensign and fired its torpedoes. The first missed its mark and smashed into a merchant vessel. The second hit a German destroyer in its aft magazine, blowing it to pieces. The battle space was incredibly limited. The narrow confines of the fjords and harbour presented a huge challenge for the flotilla captains, as they not only had to navigate through a battle, but also navigate carefully to avoid rocks, the shore, and the harbour. 2 German destroyers were sunk and another damaged, and a number of merchant ships were also sunk in the ensuing battle. Unbeknown to the British, however, 5 German destroyers were nearby, anchored in a neighbouring fjord. These German ships outgunned the British vessels, and hearing of the chaos, they began to move towards the harbour and engaged the British flotilla as it made its way out of the battle zone. Warburton-Lee and HMS Hardy, which bravely led the attack, was hit several times, and the ship was ablaze with flame. Several more hits slammed into the side of the ship, and the bridge, which Warburton-Lee commanded from, was destroyed, killing or wounding all those inside. The ship was then run aground, and her first lieutenant, who wasn't on the bridge at the time, ordered men to abandon the stricken vessel. Warburton-Lee was mortally wounded, and was taken ashore by the survivors. Sadly, he died a few hours later. For his exploits and his incredible leadership, he was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross, becoming one of only 23 members of the Royal Navy to receive one during the Second World War. He was buried, along with his crew members who fell alongside him, in Norway in Bergen Cemetery. Thank you all for watching today's video. I'll see you all very soon. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you did enjoy. I'll see you all on the next one. Goodbye.